bless you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's just start with just one small little liner. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. If I would just summarize what I'm going to be talking to you about today, it would be just in those two sentences, and it comes from St. Augustine. And we have all heard that before, but that resonates with me a whole lot, all the time. Let me start a little bit from my background. As you know, you can hear in my accent, right? I got a little bit of accent, maybe a little bit more than a little for some people. I am actually not from this country, of course. I was born in, some say Iran, but it's correctly pronounced as Iran. I was born there. I was raised there until I was 17. Then I left the country. I'll talk a little bit about the background as why I left the country, why I came in here. When I was born, back in 1969, if you talk to your parents and grandparents, they talk about, actually, they called it Persia. They talk about, that country was a rich country. They had oil. Everything was nice. They were so friendly. It was something else, right? And it was so until I was finished my 3rd grade, I was in 4th grade, things just turned upside down. The term revolution is things turning over. If I may add, this was not revolution, this was a fall. This was a fall from grace. And I say that, why I say that? Because we had freedom of religion up until then, and then after that, no more. You either had to be a Muslim or not. That whole thing came with a revolution that was really, I would say the best way to put it, they put martyrdom and death as the most ultimate glory a man can achieve. So nothing else matters but that. That's the short way of going to heaven. So are you going to stop a man from that, right? Thinking that he's going to die and he's going to go to heaven. And for him, in order to do that, the best way is to kill one of the infidels. Just think about it. That's what we're up against over there. Growing up, we didn't have none of that until, as I said, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 1979, if some of you remember. Some of the older folks, some of the younger ones, thank God, didn't have to deal with that. Things just changed overnight. However, one of the products of that whole thing was that this, I guess I would say, the brand of Shia Islam became the forefront of everything. So not just Shia Islam, but the militant brand, as I said, martyrdom and everything else was glorified. Let me back up a little bit. My own family, I had one sister, older sister, and mother and father. My father was in the military. When that happened, as a matter of fact, he was a major. He was a major in the military. He also played soccer. He was actually the coach of the national team. And soccer is big anywhere else in the world, especially in that country. So everybody knew him. Everybody knew him. They still know him in here when they realize who I am. It's like, oh, your dad is. I say, yes, my dad, I know, but don't expect me to be the same way. So he's that, whatever, I would say famous or what have you. And he was like, okay, you're talking about a military man, a soccer coach. So in our house, everything was by the book. Lunch is at this time. If somebody's not here, guess what? You're not going to get lunch, or you're going to eat by yourself. We're going to sleep at this time, you better be in bed. And we're going to wake up at this time, you better be up. And it was non-negotiable. It was non-negotiable. So I grew up in that environment. The other thing about my father was, for the longest time, I thought he was atheist. I finally had the guts to talk to him when I'm 30. He said, no, I'm not atheist. I do believe in God. You do? He said, yes, of course. You'd be dumb if you don't. Look at all this. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. And then he goes, but I don't believe in that Islam stuff. A God that has created all this is so great, you cannot put him in a box like the way they say in here. And especially that God. I can't reconcile with that. Now, this is the most profound conversation I've ever had with my father. He had to wait 30 years to talk to me about it. But it was well worth it. My mother, the most loving person, of course, like any other mother. But you may know, Armand, how the Persian mothers are. You can do no wrong, right? It's like, I don't know, Italian mothers are somewhat close. But at the same time, when it comes to them, you're not doing anything right. But when it's talking to the other people, oh, yeah, my son is this, my son is that, anything. But my mother, no. She would let me know if I'm doing something wrong. And that shoe was out before you know it. And I was never fast enough. I tried, but I mean, she's accurate. She got me right in the back. And I'm telling you, it didn't hurt as much as it hurt my pride, right? But I'm thankful for that, because it didn't happen all the time. It happened when I needed it. And I remember that. It happened only once with my mother. But with my father, boy, you better don't cross him. He wouldn't hit you. Maybe I was hit once by him, but he was always this guy that you would think, okay, he's the drill sergeant, right? You better do this right or we're going to run another 10 miles. And he was. So that was my background. Now, how you would say that, okay, how is it that you are a Muslim? Well, I grew up in a family at the same time, and all my grandparents, they were practicing Muslims. But it is recognized as good Muslims. What does good Muslim mean? It's the ones that they don't grab a gun and go killing people, right? They were very kind, very loving, and they never ever missed prayer or fasting. And truly, when they did that, that was for God. The God that they knew, they kind of taught me about. It was a very, I guess I would say, forgiving, loving God, right? I couldn't reconcile that with the God that I was reading in Quran. So fast forward, I'm in 6th grade. I go to this school that is a bit, may I say, religious, and it's a parochial type place, but they're also militant. We didn't know at the time, but they're very good. They're very good also in basically, I would say, school, academics. We kind of fell for that. I went to that school, but they kind of indoctrinated me into Islam. So a week into it, I actually learned how to pray, and I was praying. I decided to pray, but not so much because of what they did tell me, but also what I saw from my grandparents. I wanted that connection with God. I wanted that connection. I know I was in 6th grade, probably 11 years old, but at the same time, it's important for, like an 11-year-old also to have that connection. Even though I didn't have to pray until a few years later, because really, they make you do it when you are, hitting puberty. So I started doing that. But a year, right around that time, the war happens. And as you know, my country, Iran, for all the wrong reasons, even now, is in the news. For all the wrong reasons. As a matter of fact, my parents are over there now, and we don't have any connections with them, and I know just a bomb hit so close, my sister had to somehow get a hold of me and say that, okay, it was half a mile away or something. I'd say it was about half a kilometer away. But that's just the way it is over there right now, even, as we speak. So I started practicing. I was very diligent. I even felt for my father, it's like he doesn't pray, he's going to go to hell. So I started praying for him also. Like his prayer, at some point it became really, I stopped it was too much. But I started also fasting, and I was very adamant. However, there were certain other things in that religion that never really clicked with me, I could not do. I don't want to say anything that, it's not about bashing Islam in here. I'm going to stop that. But at the same time, there were certain things I could not. Like, for example, it was okay to have more than one wife. I'm like, yeah, I want to see my dad trying that. Or, for example, that women, now these are the simple ones, women inherit like half the portion of man. Why? Like, they don't need to feed their family? Same as men? I don't know. Or certain other things. Like my grandfather was so progressive, he's like, no, actually I like girls better than boys. They're much more, like I would say, kinder to me than my son has ever been. They're always there for me. But other people, like, they couldn't stand it. Oh, I have a daughter. What a bad, whatever, a disappointment. Some people were like that. Why? Because all the things that comes with having a daughter. So, what also reinforced that idea, becoming a better Muslim, was that I had a teacher over there, a young man, 21-year-old, that he was like on fire. He was a nice man, kind, and the way he talked and everything just was always so kind, so loving. I came to see him as a big brother that I didn't have, and that was one of the reasons that I prayed, and I started praying. But by, I guess I would say at the time I was in 8th grade, he decided that he wanted to go to war. He wanted to pay his dues, right, to the country. Last time I talked to him, I felt like I'm not going to see him again. He had that look in his face. 20 days later, we got the news that he's been killed 9 days earlier. So 10 days into being over there, he died. At the time, 23 years old. That left a big gap in my heart. And just to honor him, I could not say, no, I have to pray. Every time that I slacked off, I would see his face. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but that's very hard. His face and my grandma's face. But at some point, the war just kept going. It was like 6 years into it. And I remember one day I was just looking, they had all these dead men, dead bodies of Iraqis. Of course, they didn't show us. In a field. I would say it's over 1,000 people, and I have no idea how would they all died, in that field. And as I'm looking at this, and they're showing this on national TV, I turn around looking at my mother, I said, I don't think, and I'm 16 at the time, almost 17, and I don't think I'm going to kill anybody. I'm not going to fire my weapon when they send me there. She looked at me, she was like, why? I'm like, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want anybody's blood on my hand, because I don't think we are not doing this because we are defending ourselves anymore. At this point, we're just defending this government. Why do I want to kill someone? A father, a brother, a son. I can't live with that. My mom looked me in the eyes like, okay, I've seen a lot of things from this guy. The way I guess I talked, she didn't say anything to me until my father came at night. He turned around looking at my dad and said, you're getting him out of this country. And now any male over 12 years old has been basically forbidden to leave the country, legally at least. So a lot of people were escaping through the porous, I guess I would say, boundaries in the north. My father goes like, okay. And then she adds, if you don't, his blood is on you. And she stormed off. 3 months later, I was out. I was out of the country. And then 3 months after that, I was here in the United States. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the truth, I was not sad a bit that I was leaving. I said, freedom at last. I'd had it with them for so many years. Believe it or not, I went to jail. They took me in for our crime that they wrote down was party. We were in a, let's say, party with family members because my sister got married. And somebody had the audacity of inviting us over. A good thing our parents were not there. And we're all brothers and sisters, all family. And they took us in because we got together in one place, had a get-together. They came to my sister's wedding. They stopped the wedding because we celebrated and men and women were together. So I was very happy when I left. I couldn't stand it anymore. That wasn't my country anymore. Yeah, I still love the country, but I couldn't stand it because it was the tyranny of the mass, tyranny of the majority on the rest. Unlike this country. Unlike this country. So when I got in here, I said, I got the opportunity, and I had the guilt of my friends not being able to come, and some of them had died in the war already. So I decided, to put all I got into this and do my best. Do my best. But I tell you, even though I thought I had God, I did not have God. What I had was a set of rules. If I do this, I go to heaven. If I don't do this, I go to hell. Old Testament. St. Paul said, you live by law, you die by law. And I felt that death every day. I felt it. Because I came in here, if you try to do it on your own that way, it's just you being accountable to God and not seeking His help, what is going to happen? You can't do it on your own. We all know that. Well, I didn't. It's good to have hindsight. I didn't know that. I thought it was all on me. I had to do this. And I failed. Time and again. Time and again. I was trying to be good, but I couldn't do my prayers on time. I tried not to lie, but hey, it's okay. I'll ask for forgiveness. All right, it's okay if you look at somebody else's, with some, whatever, not good, intentions. Or if you get mad at someone, shout at him, or whatever. All these things, little things that, teenagers would do, I did. I kind of gave into it, no problem. But it was very hard not to. Why? Because I didn't have God. My God was this guy up there waiting for me to make a mistake. And that's how I saw it. I went to Oklahoma State University, started in college over there, and my goal was to succeed. Now, what did I mean by succeed? Get my degree, make a lot of money. All right? That was my goal. I don't know if anybody else has that goal or had that goal, but that was my goal. It is good, it carries you for a while. But when things get really tough, that is hard. The good thing was, at that time, I met my beautiful wife, future wife. Of course, she's also a foreigner from Peru. The two of us are kind of the same age. I'm about 5 months older. So we kind of clicked, right? Being foreigners and all that, but except I found out she was Catholic and I'm a Muslim. She's a cradle Catholic. She goes to church and all, right? I have no idea why she decided, I was worth it, but she stuck with me. So the two of us, we start, having these conversations, and I'm thinking, my goodness, I need to save this lady. She's in the wrong, right? Well, didn't go well for me, thank God. 3 years later, I asked her to marry me. I still don't know why she said yes. She did. She did. She told me later, though, and I think I believe her, but I'll keep it here because I didn't ask her if I could share it with you guys. It has something to do with Virgin Mary, her mother, so I owe her everything. I get married, and at the time, we had a hard time because the two of us were poor. Even though I had a degree already and I was teaching in college, but they don't pay you much. So I had 2 other jobs. We had our first one before we left college. Kind of a surprise. Not really, but she was such a beautiful bundle of joy, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I learned a lot from having all this hardship and having her at the same time. The only thing I felt like that I didn't deserve her, and really, I didn't. I still don't. She was a blessing. She still is. Fortunately, we were also able to get a job. We moved to Tulsa. That's where I actually met one of the people who is very instrumental in my conversion. I'm going to name his name even though I haven't asked him. At the time, Father Gallas. He reminded me so much of the person that my father never was. Now, I'm not saying my father was bad or anything. It's just that my father was not religious. But I had this man that I looked at him, same age as my father, but he was a priest. And when he talked to me, he never judged. As a matter of fact, he's the guy who told me, go back and read, Quran. Be a good Muslim. Be close to God. So I did so. I did. And it was very hard, being in the environment that we were in, like being in Oklahoma, and everybody is, back then, this is 1995, and everybody is, kind of like, okay, what is this Islamist stuff, right? They don't know it, but they were very open to me. I could pray in my cubicle, and I would be fasting. Everybody would have barbecue. That was tough. And but I did that, and I did that for God. It actually got me closer to God. So I read Quran, the whole Quran, in 2 different languages, Persian and Arabic, making sure I understood it at least once. And I thought, man, this is such a great book. Okay, I'll go back there. All right, after a while we decided, okay, I gotta look for a job. I gotta make more money. So we moved to Houston. Since my in-laws were already here, that was the best place to go for us. It made sense. Of course, I asked my wife, are you okay with that? At the time, she was I don't know, she was just said, okay, no problem. Later on, I realized that she did not want to leave Tulsa. She had friends there. But she did that for me, for my career. So I came in here, I bought a house, because she was still over there in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Tulsa. And I said, I hope you like it. Your dad liked it. So she didn't say anything. She came in here, and everybody goes, you're courageous doing that. But she came here. She was okay with the house. So we had a house and everything. Everything was going well. A couple of years later, I started having problems with my stomach, issues that I knew they were kind of like getting worse. I've had them before, but I don't know what it was. Before you know it, it was really bad. And I had to go to the doctor. They told me, you got ulcerative colitis. I'm looking at him, I'm like, explain what that is. So they did. I'm like, okay, I can live with that, I guess. So tell me what to eat. We don't know. Okay, what medication? Here is the medication. I kept getting worse. I ended up in the hospital. I ended up in the hospital with immense pain. 3 times, in and out. Every time I would get better, I would go back in. 17 days, one time I didn't have any food. They had to put a straight TPN line into my, the pain is immense, I tell you, but still I put things in perspective. I remember one night there was so much pain and I was, going to the restroom. And we are in Memorial Southwest. If you know, it looks like a cross on the top. So you actually can peek from like one window and you see the other wing across. I hear code blue, and I'm like going to the bathroom. I'm in pain, and I'm looking. I see that they are trying to resuscitate this, whoever it was. I can't tell. So I kind of don't think much about it. In the movies they always come back, right? I go to the bathroom, I'm so sorry. It took me 30 minutes. I couldn't, I don't want to go there. It's just very bad. I know a few people in here who actually can, I guess I would say, relate to that. And I come back after 35 minutes, they're still going at it. I'm like, wow, thank God I'm not in his place. I still have the ticker going. Right? That's seeing silver lining. I go back to my bed for another 15 minutes before I go back. That has stayed with me. Why? Because I realize at any moment I can lose that. So I don't have any room for error. I need to be a better person. But it took me 5 years until my last hospitalization. I was, at the time, probably I would say 38 years old. I had 4 kids by now, 4 children. Youngest was 3, oldest was 13. I ended up in the hospital. I had lost 3 jobs. I tell you, they like you as long as you can work, of course. If you're putting 70 hours a week, you're the best, employees. Once you get sick a couple of times, you can meet the deadline, sorry. Rightly so, because it's all about money, right? And that's what I wanted to do, make a lot of money, right? There you go. So the first 10 days, I'm thinking, man, it's on me. I kept thinking, man, I have 4 kids, I have mouths to feed, I gotta leave, I gotta do something. Finally, I don't know what happened. But I know that my poor wife was always there in the evenings, staying with me, leaving the 4 kids. The oldest was 13, youngest 3. And their 13-year-old, the one that I'm telling you was the blessing, she was the mother, de facto mother for all the rest of the kids. As a matter of fact, my youngest one was calling her mom. And I told my wife, no, you need to go home. I may die or whatever, it doesn't matter. You gotta go home, I'm good. And I told her, when was the last time you ate? Because I actually could feel that she hasn't ate yet, and this is in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. She's like, well, I haven't yet. I'm like, you're gonna go now, getting something to eat. Go, they have something, go get it before you actually end up in here right side by side. So I did get her to go eat, and I had just time, is like thinking to myself, wait a second. Do you realize you are not in charge? Something told me you're not in charge. I just had to kind of take all this stuff in, and I'm like, that's right, I am not. So as I'm laying on the bed, I turned around and told God, Lord, I'm so sorry, I've been ignoring you. I can't do this. I can't do this on my own. I'm at your mercy. I know that now. I'm not going to get any better on my own. But that's not what I'm asking you. I'm all yours. I'm all yours now. My life is in your hand, and I know it. You want to take it? Take it. More pain? No problem. But please take care of my children and my wife. The moment I said that, I felt like there was this cloud coming through my heart, and as my eyes were closed, I felt like just this beautiful, flower, mushroom, just coming, emerging, and lifting me, saying, you are going to be okay. I got you. You're going to be okay. Of course, it was not in words, it was in the feelings. That's why you get it. You take it into your heart. So my wife comes back, and I tell her that, I didn't tell her what happened. I told her, honey, I'm going to be okay. They came in and said, listen, you're getting worse. We don't know what it is. Of course, they didn't want to say we're afraid, maybe cancer. We need to go have a colonoscopy tomorrow morning. You need to get ready. You need to get prepped. I'm like, I haven't ate anything for 11 days, right? Do I still need to get prepped? It's like, yeah, see what you can do. I could not drink because the pain was immense. It's like you're drinking a fireball. That's how it goes through your intestine. And that's by being with being on the medication. God knows if you're not. Of course, I couldn't take any, it was kind of funny because I couldn't take any morphine, because morphine was kind of like, apparently my veins don't take it really well. They started actually all going purple and blue. So they stopped doing that. They gave me Demerol or something like that, which was only good for like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. But anyways, that's besides the fact. So I'm in pain, and they do get me ready, but I was in peace. And that's all I needed. I didn't care if there was pain, let it be, but I was in peace. It was a peace that was not from me, from anybody but God. The problem is I didn't know it at the time. I just went with it. So the next morning we had our colonoscopy. As a matter of fact, I don't know, I saw the doctor that did my colonoscopy here earlier. I'm not going to name name, but it's a small world. He did not like what he saw, because until then they thought it was ulcerative colitis, and he said, I need to talk to you about this. I said, I'm okay. So we go upstairs, and he comes, and my wife also shows up, and he says, you got Crohn's. I'm like, yeah, I heard that when you were doing that, you said it is Crohn's. He thought I was out. I was like, I was not. I was feeling everything. It was painful. He knew it. He knew it was. But then he told me, that means that we cannot do your colonectomy now. And I'm thinking, you were going to do colonectomy? Nobody had talked to me, but that was their solution until now. That means they take your colon out. So I thought about it. I'm like, my wife was like, thank God. Now you cannot do that. I turned around, that didn't faze me. I said, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay, doctor. Don't worry. He said, don't you understand? I said, I'm going to be okay. So he calmed down a little bit, because he was worried, like a father of 4, 38 years old, and all the ramifications that comes with it. Anyhow, the next 18 days, I was on the road for recovery, partial at least, to be able to leave the hospital. And we eventually left hospital. But before I left the hospital, 3 days later after I had my colonoscopy, I had my boss, poor thing, had to come over, make me sign papers that would say, I am out. I am out. That means I even got fired from the city. And I'm thinking to myself, that's fine. I've got God. So I was home now. I was home and I had all the time in the world to do anything I wanted to do. So I decided to put prayer first and foremost. So I started praying as a Muslim. I started reading Quran again. And I tell you, I didn't like what I was reading this time. There were things, it was like something dropped. A curtain dropped. I started going to the Bible studies with my wife in St. Edith's time. And I remember before you know it, I'm telling my wife there's something wrong. I mean, I don't know what's going on. So one day, I'm going with my daughter, and actually the 3 older ones. We're going back from CCE, from St. Edith's Stein. My daughter says, Dad, what do you consider yourself? I guess she had to kind of looked at me, all the things that I was doing was kind of weird, right? I'm the one taking them to CCE. My wife was home with the little one. I said, well, I consider myself more Catholic, Christian, than a Muslim. She's looking at me, explain, just the eyes. I go like, well, I'm not doing all the stuff I'm supposed to do as a Muslim. I'm instead just obeying the 10 Commandments. I spend more time and better quality time. I pay attention when I'm in Mass. I've fallen in love with it. And she's looking at me, it's like, okay, this is going deep. I told her I'm thinking about becoming Catholic. She was the first person to hear that, and I said, don't tell Mom, don't get her hopes up. That night, my wife was talking about it to me, asking me, telling me, hey, let me help you out. I'm like, oh, she wasn't supposed to tell you. She's like, too late. So, next thing I know, I am with Chris, the OCIA director over there at St. Edith Stein, and after, we were supposed to have a 30-minute meeting, and she told me after 3 hours talk, you're ready to come in. And she was kind of taken aback. She's like, why do you know so much? I said, because I sat on the pews for 17 years. And it all started with my wife. One day coming back with our little one from church, telling me, next time you're going with me. She was this 10 months, no, at the time 5-month-old, being over 20 pounds. And she would talk back to the priest. She thought it was a conversation. And she was very loud. But anyhow, so I did. And that 17 years was the best thing that could have happened to me because it led me to where I was. So I came to church April 23rd, 2011 in St. Edith's Stein. A few months after that, we moved to St. Bartholomew because our kids, I think at the time, they were kind of leaning towards coming here because we had moved and we were much closer here and they liked the youth group. I know, it didn't settle with me at first. It didn't settle with me at all. So one day I'm sitting in the pews thinking to myself, I don't know, I betrayed my church. So they said, okay, the worship aid, and I take those, I don't know if anybody remembers, a few years back, 14 years ago, those green worship aids, I take it and I see the name of my family in there. I realized God answered me right away. You belong here. Sit where you are. Sit tight, I got plans for you. A few months later, Father John in the homily brings it up. It was about service. He says, for example, Sam here decides to go into diaconate. And I'm like, must be a joke. So I didn't say anything. I was flattered, believe me, but I'm like, me. A couple of years later, Father Wayne is in here, same thing. It's like the two of them were rehearsing the same script. So afterward, I go and said, Father, did you talk to Father John? He said, no, but I'm serious. Come and see me. I went and saw him. I said, okay, we'll think about it. My wife said, I'm all the way behind you. I'll take care of things that needs to be taken care of so you can be there. The first 2 years is just, we're just going to show up, discernment. 2 years, and I thought I'd get the letter, man, they'll find out he's a fraud. They'll say, okay, something else for you, No, I get the letter, and I was ready. I'm telling you, I'd already planned all kinds of, ministry stuff I was going to do, and says, no, you're in. And I'm like, who's making these decisions? 4 years later, and that's my time's up. 4 years later, Cardinal Dinardo laid his hands on me. And that was the most humbling experience I've had in my life. And I didn't know that one day that I was sitting on the bed telling him, I'm all yours, he would take it seriously. So I'm all his. I'm all his. And I don't think I'm actually giving enough. So I pray for all of you to pray for me so I can persevere and give him what he's given me and more. Amen.
A little bit of time for the questions and answers. If anybody has any questions for Deacon Sam. Once, twice. There you go.
Yes.
Did you eventually get cured of the condition affecting you? Crohn's?
No, it's chronical. It is something that I'm gonna have to live with it. But I'm blessed to have it. Without it, I would not have Jesus. So I would not give it up. This is my cross, and I'm telling you, it's very light because other people are carrying it with me. I'm talking about my family. So no, I won't give it up. It's mine. Thank you.
Over here.
Hey everyone, as a Muslim, after you came into the church, did you ever think about what similarities and like types of prayer or prayer forms that you used to and you do now, and what were those similarities, and how can I evangelize more effectively to my Muslim brothers?
Very good, very good. You got to recognize something, that Holy Spirit works his way through everybody. We cannot determine and say, you know what, Holy Spirit, you cannot talk to the Muslims. No, you can't. And, but we got it easy because we got the sacraments. The thing is, they're hung up on the Trinity. I would have been in the church earlier if it wasn't because of the Trinity, the idea, because Islam is very much revolves around negating that, negating Mass as well. So it's very hard for them to understand. Instead, you want to basically more emphasize on the things that we have in common, which is the 10 Commandments. And that's the thing we have in common. Be very careful about bringing the Trinity into play, because that's, for them, that's very touchy subject. So, yeah.
Can you expound on why it is a little touchy subject for?
Well, because Jesus was not the Son of God according to them. Just the whole thing is blasphemy, even saying it. So. And also, yeah, the other thing is the love is very different. Love of God in Islam is kind of like a pity, like the love you have for your little puppy at best. Whereas the love we share with God is our Father.
Before you became a Catholic, how do you decide in which faith you were going to raise your kids?
Good question. I know I didn't have enough time for that, but that was part of this thesis that I wrote. But basically, it was interesting because, as I said, we decided not to kind of dwell too much on that. So we said, okay, when we got married in church, the priest told me, okay, these are the things he went over. One of them was, you got to raise your children in the Catholic Church. I love my wife so much, and I said, okay, yes, we will. And you got to baptize them. We baptized all of our children, when they were a few days old, or at least a month or something at most. So that was no problem. But I also said, okay, I also would pray and teach them Islam, a Muslim way. But the funny thing is, in the back of my mind, I did not want them to convert. Even when I was a Muslim that was practicing, Now that I have had to kind of go back and dig deep, and I'm like, I did not want them to convert. I felt like, man, it's much better for them to be Catholics. So.
So I think you knew this one was coming eventually, but how do you kind of, so me coming from a Muslim household, what was the best way for you to kind of be at peace with having multiple people around that did not only agree with your faith, but actively kind of saw it as a disrespect to them?
Well, let me tell you something. I have a group over there in city of Houston, right? Several people, 6, 7, 8 people, and they're all mostly Muslims. The way you conduct yourself as a Catholic, true Catholic, and that love of God that permeates through you, they can't deny that. They can't. It's just some attraction about it. It's not you, of course. Don't take it like, oh, it's me. No, it's God. So you gotta let God dwell in you, and they'll see that. As a matter of fact, they start asking questions. I've had one Muslim woman actually she wanted to go to confession. She went to Co-Cathedral and came, and she felt like, you know, she had some problems, issues. She said the only time she had peace was in Catholic Church, in Co-Cathedral, during the Mass. Yeah, we take it for granted, we do. Well, thanks for the question.
Well, how do we thank Deacon Sam for his time today? Thank you so much.
Thank you.